When it comes to Christmas, I love making ornaments. This video was inspired by Donna at Creative by Nature and is part of a wonderful playlist for Christmas in July. So let's get started with craft number 1. For this ornament, we're starting out with a shower curtain ring, and you can get a bunch of these at the Dollar Tree. I believe it's 12 in a pack for $1.25, so you can get quite a few ornaments out of it. Now let's grab some macrame rope and some twine. And what I'm doing here is just cutting them into nice little strips in 6-inch lengths. Now grab your hot glue gun and take the shower curtain ring and make sure it's locked into place, and then just seal it with a little bit of hot glue. We just want to make sure that this doesn't pop open on us while we're making our fun ornament here. Now I'm just going to take the twine and the macrame rope, and I'm just going to loop it up and around the ornament here, and we're just going to make almost like a big old sunshine. So we're just going white macrame rope, and then we're going to do twine, and then the white, and then the twine. A quick note here, I'm not going to go the full length around the ring. We're just going to go all the way around, and we're just going to skip where it's hooked together. We're going to cover that up later on, and so you'll see that it's almost like a really tight U, and we're not going to cover up that one little spot. All the string tight and in place, I'm going to grab my hot glue gun and just put a tiny bit of hot glue at the edges here, just so that it doesn't move around too much. So once that hot glue dries, we'll grab some Mod Podge and matte, and we'll just do a light coat all the way around the ring of the ornament. So we'll set that aside to dry. And now let's go ahead and grab some stars. And these are just some fun wood cutouts that I got from the Dollar Tree last year, but you can usually find them at the craft store as well. And I'm using my Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm just going to coat them so that we can go ahead and wipe off some of that wax, and it's going to give it a stained look. And then what I'll do next is we're going to grab some of our Waverly white chalk paint. And then we're going to do a little whitewash over the top of these. While we're painting the stars, I just wanted to share how much I love Christmas time. One of the favorite things I like to do at Christmas is watch Christmas movies and make crafts. What is something you like to do at Christmas? So once all the paint dries, I'm going to grab some Rub and Buff, and I'm just going to put a little bit down on the piece of cardboard here. And I'll grab a small rag, and it's a lint-free rag, and I'm just going to use it with a dab of the Rub and Buff, and we're just going to just slightly rub over the top of the star on both sides. Now let's set those stars aside to dry. I'm going to go back to the ornament, and we're just going to go ahead and untwist all of the strings, and it's going to kind of give it a more of a lion look. And this step does require a little bit of patience. It takes a while to untwist all of those little strings. And there is a little bit of fuzz that will come out, so be prepared to have to vacuum up some of that fuzz, especially from those twines. But once you're done, it's going to look so amazing. Next, I'm going to put this down on the flat surface, and I'm using just a comb, and we're just going to comb all of that string out, and this gets rid of any of the extra fuzz and gives it a nice smooth look. Once you're satisfied with combing out the strings, go ahead and grab a nice pair of sharp scissors, and we're just going to give it a little bit of a haircut and trim all the way around. And I always start a little longer than what I want, and then I take the scissors and I come back and I just try to even it up. When you're satisfied with the look of your ornament, go ahead and grab some small twine or string, and we're going to make a loop for hanging our ornament up at the top where the hook of the ring was. And I'm just going to tie a simple knot on both ends, one closer to the ornament and then one up at the top, so that it will hang nice when we put that on our tree. Let's decorate the top of our wreath. I grabbed some picks that I had from last year, and one of these picks is from the Dollar Tree, the gold one, and the greenery was from Walmart, and it has a little bit of a sparkle in it. And I'm going to use a little bit of both, and I'm mixing gold and silver with my tree this year, so this is kind of new for me. I'm not a big gold person, but we're going to add gold. So the greenery has a little bit of silver sparkles in it, and we're just going to glue that on as a swag. And then I'll add the little pieces of gold to the top of the swag. Then we'll add a star right in the center, and that will cover up that ring where it connects so you won't even see it. To ensure that the star really stays in place, I suggest holding the star in place with the hot glue until it's totally set. It does take a few minutes, but I feel like it does give it a little bit of a better hold. I love how this ornament turned out. It's so elegant. It's all ready to go and hang on your tree. So today I'm doing a open challenge for Christmas in July. I want to say a quick thank you to 6 Kids and a Glue Gun, Crafty Art Shack, and Pearl Treasure for putting together this fun collaboration. Please check out the playlist in my description below to see all the lovely crafts. Craft number 2. For this craft, you're going to need some mini tin buckets. I got these at the Dollar Tree, and they have them all over in the different sections. Some of them are white, some are festive with different colors, but we're going to go ahead and just take the little hooks off the side, and then we're going to set these outside, and we're going to spray paint them in some gold spray paint. And with these buckets, I found it was easier to do really light coats and more coats to cover everything. So I decided to try out this little drill I got from Temu, and it did drill a nice little hole down the top of the bucket, but it was not quite big enough. And of course it didn't come with bigger drill bits, so I had to grab out the bigger drill and drill a nicer hole in there. So all we're doing is just putting one hole in the bottom of each of these buckets, and we're going to turn these buckets into bells. Start out with some pearls that I got from the Dollar Tree, and these were the size 12 mm, and some ribbon and a small little bell. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take the ribbon and we're going to just put that through that hole that we just drilled. The ribbon that I'm using is just a basic satin ribbon. It's a 1/4 inch wide, and I'm going to cut a strip about 19 inches. And I found that was the easiest size to make these bells. So once you string the ribbon through the bucket the first time, we're going to actually string it through again a second time to make a loop at the top. And it is a little bit harder to get that ribbon through the second time. So what I used was some skewers from the kitchen, and I just used the skewer to poke the ribbon through the hole. Once I have everything even out, and I have about 4 inches of ribbon at the bottom part of the bucket, I'm going to add the bell. And you can kind of see here, I'm going to put the string through going the opposite direction, and then I'm going to tie a little knot so that the bell stays on there. And I actually tie this 2 or 3 times because I really don't want that bell to fall out. And then I'll cut off any excess ribbon so that it looks a little bit nicer. And now that the bell is attached, we're going to go ahead and add another knot in the ribbon, and it's going to be about 1 inch above the bell inside of the bucket. So it does take 2 or 3 knots because we want it to not be able to go through that hole that we drilled. And this will just keep the bell where we want it. If you're still watching, please press that like button below. We're going to take those pearl beads and we're going to put that at the top of the bell. So I'm just going to twist the ribbon, and this worked pretty well where I was able to then string the beads over the top of both sides of the ribbon. If that doesn't work for you, go ahead and use that skewer again, and it just will help you poke the ribbon through the bead. So I grab my old scrapbooking materials and I grab out what I want to say are brads, and I keep not being able to find the exact words for these, but they're just like a little metal circle, and they poke right into those little holes there, and they work perfect for sealing off these buckets. You could also use push pins from the Dollar Tree and push them in and cut off the tips, or you could use ribbon around the bottom of the bells to cover those holes, or you could glue another bead over those holes or a string of beads, but there's so many different things you could do to cover those holes. Once you've covered the holes on those buckets, I'm going to embellish the bell with a simple bow, and this is a wired bow. It's about 1 inch thick, and I got this ribbon at Hobby Lobby on clearance, and I'm just going to glue that right onto the front of the bow. But if you wanted, you could also decorate it with flowers or any other sort of items to make it fit your decor. And then once that hot glue is all set, we have a beautiful little bell that we can hang on our tree. Craft number 3. For this craft, we're going to use 4 canning lids, and these ones were already used for other canning items, so I just wanted to wash these really good. And then what I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and spray paint the back side of these lids. So I painted these lids with gold metallic spray paint, and it took 2 coats of spray paint on the back side of these lids, and I did 2 coats on the front side as well. Once these were completely dry, I took my Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and I'm just going to paint the inside part of the lid. And for this, I did do 2 coats of paint on the inside of the lids. I took this candlestick holder that I found at the Dollar Tree because it was the right size for the inside of the lid, and I used it as a way to trace on a napkin here a circle. And we're going to just cut a circle out of the napkin, and we're going to decoupage this onto the lid. And I found that it was easier to cut the circles out without having pulled the napkin apart. And then once the circle was cut out, I did separate out the top layer of the napkin, and I'm only going to use that layer on the lid here. Next, we went ahead and we put some Mod Podge down onto the lid. And I'm using a piece of clear plastic wrap, and I'm just tapping down the piece of napkin. And once that's completely dry, I'll take another coat of the Mod Podge, and we're just going to do a thin layer over the top of the napkin to seal everything in. While that's drying, I'm going to grab some ribbon, and we're just going to cut some 12-inch strips of ribbon. And we're going to use this to make a loop on the back side of the lids. And to make the loop, we're just going to go ahead and tie a knot at the bottom of the ribbon. And for this next step here, we're just going to hot glue the knot on the back side of this canning lid. And I'm just going to do that again here to show you. And I'm using my little tool that I have from the Dollar Tree. It's just a makeup applicator tool, and it works really good for hot glue. And I'm just using that to press down the hot glue so I don't burn my fingers when I'm doing this. Now I made 2 different bows out of 2 different types of ribbon, and I was trying to decide which one I liked better, and I went with the gold. I don't know why I like that one better, but I don't know, they both look good, but I went with the gold because I thought that one looked a little nicer. So I go ahead and I attach that with some hot glue, and I clip that on just to make sure it gives it more time to adhere to the lid. And when we're all done, we have 3 beautiful ornaments. Thank you for watching. Craft more, stress less.